Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding.
We're on a mission from God.
And all I have to say is, drizzle, drizzle.
They shouldn't have given you Ashy Bloke's YouTube.
Cursed be the ground for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are. And to the dust we shall return.
I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
All right, you ashy blokes and you dusty Jermaines, okay, in the house. So I was going to do this on another channel, okay, on my Master's Teacher Response channel. But the thing is, you know how when sometimes you kind of run dry, so I decided to move it to the main channel. It's very pertinent. Eventually I want to move most of my political stuff to my Master Teacher's Response channel, so I can actually do more political stuff, because I don't want to flood this channel with too much political things, and political stuff doesn't do all that well on this particular channel. I mean, sometimes I get a lot of people looking, but the thing is, as far as channel wise, as far as views, it doesn't do as well, because this channel was not really meant to be a political channel. In fact, this channel was not meant to be a relationship channel, okay? It's supposed to be more like a self-improvement, more esoteric channel, how to be a better person. That's what it's supposed to be about. But hey, you got to feel the needs of the people. And people think we really talk about women per se. We don't. We talk about how we actually challenge men's perception of women, okay? Because I think I was just thinking about Big J Triple X, right? About why I said we always talk about women and why did we do it. I said, you know what? 55% of the black population is female, okay? There's no way that men, boys, men, males, black males can avoid women, okay? They're your mothers, they're your sisters, they're your lovers, they're your aunties, they're your there's the woman that drives the bus. There's the clerk, the woman that works next to you in the office or in the factory, wherever you work, okay? The woman on the street. Can't avoid them. I was just looking at this article about women in gyms. Women don't feel safe in the gyms, right, with men. I said, y'all have plenty of money. Y'all spend more money on hair than you do on gyms. Y'all could have your own gyms, your own place, and not even go near a male gym. Why do you go to a male gym? And then complain about men being creepy. Stay out of the male gym. Stay out of male spaces. Nobody makes you go. There's a reason that women go to male spaces, because they like men. But I don't want men talking to me. Bullshit. I don't want men looking at me. Bullshit. Yes, you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't go. If you didn't want a man looking at you, you would. There's plenty of female gyms and female created gyms where there are no men. You know, and those that are least supported. Just like the WNBA, right? Okay. Well, we don't get support. Yeah, you cry to men because you know there's men watch basketball and women don't. That's why you cry to men all the time. I always cry to men about your problems because you don't get support. Cry to your women. Nobody talks about women not supporting the WNBA. They don't. Anyhow, let me get into this, because this is not what the show is about. This is a show about a few things that have come together over the last month. That David Schweikert is the key, but the thing is, Robert Kennedy is the headliner because he's the one out front. Okay, nobody talks to Schweikert is because Schweikert is too dangerous. Okay, Schweikert is like me. Nobody wants to talk to him because he's got too much. He's got too much information. Anyhow, let's get busy. Snowman's on deck, leading off. Snowman, is the Caitlin Clark Paige Becker controversy dead? I ask you that way as you leading off. Batting second, okay. Is instant media beaming in on 7? You're on time for a change, instant media. Martin Muhammad, what's going on? You losing? What up, BGS? I love that what RFK is doing. Well, what do you really think these companies will let him do? They don't have a choice right now. Okay, there's a whole bunch of reasons. We're gonna get into that. Fanatic Foot, what's going on? Tunnel Runner, and Tunnel Runner with his reparations. Adric, what's going on, man? You're not number one today. Independent POV. Shannon Moore, what's happening? Quentin, what's happening? The Waffle House King, okay? Loki Stormbringer. Lavarus, the Waffle Bringer. Free Agent Triple OG, what's going on? What are my thoughts of the black woman statue in the NYC? I think this country's gotten way too woke, okay? When a big black woman can get a statue for doing nothing in NYC, that means this whole country has gone too far to the left. But a shout out to them. They could at least put a statue of Lizzo. At least she's famous. Ignatz, what's going on? Clark Goodlow, what's going on? Johnny Anderson, what's up? Henderson Bancroft, what's up? Tooth Triv, what's going on? What's happening? LAXT, black males, okay. We riding dusty, that's for sure. I'm listening, what's happening? Micah L, what's happening? Naima, what's up? Shannon Green, what's going on? Pharaoh in the Gynocracy Central, what's going on? What's up, Big Trick? What's the word? you got that one, huh? Leave them behind, huh? Leave these bras behind, man. The wave to her as the train pulls away from the station. I heard that. Mr. Snazzy, what's happening? With the country western intro, are we taking line dance? No. And I like the beat. That's why. Okay. It's got that old blues beat with a little country, little southern rock. Okay. Jesse, what's happening? Gundam, what's going on? Adriano, what's going on? Ray, what's up? Xander with a Z, what's up? C-Boy, what's going on? Hola. Hola, amigo. Que paso? What's going on? Texas Marine, what's going on? Simplify, I heard that. Little Maple Leaf, what's going on? See who else we got? Lino, player one, what's up? BGS women have their own gyms. They don't go to them because men are not. Exactly. I'm getting sick of them, man. I'm getting sick of women complaining about nothing, man. We're not the CEOs. Start your own goddamn company. Compassionate, Oos, what's going on? I said at this point we need to start asking these dudes, why are they being sexist? What's wrong with talking about women? Yeah. It doesn't matter, man. The thing is, we don't have. Wish we didn't have to talk about women. Most guys, especially in the manosphere, wish we didn't have to talk about women. Okay, the reason we talk about women because women get on our fucking nerves. Okay. The female-only gyms never last long. Women go to the gym with their skin-tight suits and shorts to be seen by men while they hit legs for the 4th time of the week. Yep. Male attention. My teacher told me, male attention is food for females. Okay, they starve without it. Barry Hamilton, what's going on? Anybody see the video where black man says his white woman is like headphones and his black woman family is the noise? Just wondering. Yeah, that's true. It's a different get down. Tao, what's going on? Ghetto Knot, what's going on? Oh, it's the unsunken one. Okay, all right. In disguise. All right. B-Row, what's up? Hurricane Greg, what's going on? Navone? Bruce on Wayne, what up? Pringles, what's going on? C. Avery, I work for a union company. I get free health care. So, long story short, I don't need to quit my job because health insurance costs too much. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. We'll get into that. No, but this is not about health care as a cost per se. This is something a little different. Well, be just the goat. I wish I was. I think that belongs to my little brother, Kevin. God rest his soul. Mr. J. Matt, what's going on? Dusty Jones, Chief Butter Biscuit says, imagine being immortalized as a big back in Times Square for the world to see. Never beating those finger licking allegations. Now, I looked at it, I said, really? Really? Lithium 19, what's up? What's up, Louis? Reverend Oman, what's going on? Let's see. I don't even know who the newest pope is. Okay, I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, it's a change, I guess. I don't know why, but it's all, probably has to do with politics. I'm not a Catholic, so I wouldn't know. I have my own gym. I go there all the time because Western women are prohibited. I heard that. I mean, most guys would prefer that women are not in the gym. Most guys would prefer that women are not in the gym. They really would. But you can't. But the thing is that you can't legally keep women out of your gym if it's public. Uh, I said Pope Sarah. Okay, all right. I don't even know who that Pope is. Uh, she just needs a bonnet, raptor claws, bat wing eyelashes with a bucket. They talking about that. What's up, Charles? They talking about the homegirl. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and get busy. Okay, let's go ahead and get the party started. My first one is a short, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Um, and We're gonna start there. Let me know if you can see the screen, please. Yeah, they're very distracted, always doing prerogative movements when working out. Yep. Most guys don't care. I don't. But the thing is, I don't know. Is he black? I don't know. I would. They've been talking about a black pope for a while. I haven't seen it. So all I saw was JD Vance tweet out congratulations. That's all I saw. But anyway, we see the screen.
Worse health than any other developed nation. Yet we spend more on healthcare, at least double, and in some cases triple, as other countries. Last year, we spent 4.8 trillion, not counting the indirect costs of missed work. That's almost a fifth of GDP. It's tantamount to a 20% tax on the entire economy. No wonder America has trouble competing with countries that pay a third of what we do for health and have better outcomes and a healthier workforce.
And that's the key, right? it's not so much that that you don't have decent health care, which is part of it. The thing is, capitalism has its claws into health care, and that's the issue, and that's what's causing these problems. And what he's saying is stuff that other people have said. Like the next video I'm going to show you is inside China business, right? Talk about drug costs, okay, and how the profit that the capitalists in the United States make off of it, and that's the issue. How to get all this freaking exorbitant profit out of medicine, okay? The last week I had people come up that hated RFK Jr. Okay, and they was talking about one little thing called vaccines, the little vaccines that they disagreed with. Okay, and he never said eliminate vaccines. He said change what goes in it. And we had this big long discussion about what's in fucking vaccines, which I always get this, man. They never disagree with the whole video. It's one little 10-second bite that they disagree with, and they want to make a whole discussion about. Okay, and this is ultimately where I was going. This is why I like RFK Jr. Whether he's great at it, where he succeeds at everything, or he fails at everything, it doesn't matter. This stuff needs to be shaken up. It wasn't just Obama. You got to remember, the Clintons started this shit in 94 with Hillary Clinton. So it's a neoliberal agenda about healthcare costs. Let's see if we can find it. Here we go. No, that's not it. This is it. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Now, is this it? No, that's not the one. Let's go back. Not the one that I want. Tourism. It's the one about cancer drug. Here it is. That's the one.
They're trying.
This is the one. Okay. Cancer, trying to solve cancer and building miracle drugs. Wall Street buys them and charges 100 times the price. Okay.
For Western biotech and pharmaceutical companies is to let Chinese labs and researchers do the most innovative research and drug development. Then our companies sign licensing deals with Chinese companies, get those medicines approved in the United States and Europe, then mark up the price 50 times. Then they discount those drugs that'll be sold in Canada or in Europe, so patients there think the Americans are getting ripped off, and sick people in Canada and Western Europe feel better about paying 30 times what patients here in Asia pay. The only value add that our pharmaceutical companies offer is in the packaging and in their know-how to work the bureaucracies at the FDA.
Sounds a lot like luxury goods. Remember we were going through that a couple of weeks ago about luxury goods, okay? How they're made in China for a tenth of the cost, and when they get to the United States, they put a label or a zipper on it, and they jack up the price 100 times. Or like by what 1,000%. Remember that? By 100 times. Same thing.
Or in Europe to get the made in China drugs approved there. Then the drugs go into a box with their brand name on it. It's really as simple as that. And that model is worth hundreds of billions of dollars a year. That system will work until Chinese companies can offer their treatments to patients directly. China is opening up its system as we speak, here in mainland China and later on Hainan Island. And it's happening now. The patients come to China directly because they can get the latest treatments available without waiting on the FDA or for European regulators to greenlight a drug a few years from now. Or if they don't want to wait a year to get an MRI or an appointment to see a specialist at home. The rich patients are already coming here. Wealthy patients in China have been using these Chinese medical centers for years, but soon enough, they'll be joined by middle-class patients who will be coming for the same reasons rich people do now. They'll also be saving money. It's cheaper to fly to China.
If they're practicing economic eugenics, then why do they need to import people? If If you're practicing eugenics to keep your population stable, why do you need? Why do you need to import people?
China and stay in a luxury hotel, get treatment, then fly home than it is to pay our doctors and drug companies at a local hospital. And it's faster too. That is to say that as China fully opens up their hospitals, then later on Hainan to patients from around the world, the Western business model for healthcare delivery will fall apart. Until that time comes, here is the system now. This explains it best, a feature in Biopharma Dive. David Lee is the head of a startup company that was looking for a biotech partner who could do the research on a few drugs they believed would have a big market potential. Drug targets, as they're called. And he learned that Chinese biotechs were already working on them. He went to Shanghai and Suzhou. Those cities are really close, about an hour apart by car. And there are many biotech companies there, hundreds of them. It's ruthlessly competitive. They're trying just to stay alive, creating more value than the companies down the street.
DC, you need to go back and read some more, okay?
He figured out in a few minutes the same thing that our biggest drug companies have, that it's easier and faster and cheaper for them just to hire the Chinese to do all the work and then sign licensing deals. There's no need to talk to sick patients or spend a lot of time in labs. Just fly to Shanghai with a suitcase full of money and set up meetings with Chinese companies who are working with the patients and doing the lab work. JP Morgan, the big investment bank, hosted a big healthcare conference. Make of that what you will. And everyone there agreed that this is how the industry works now, and it's growing fast. This CEO said that our Western labs are losing their edge, and it's Chinese innovation which is driving the industry forward now. Here's an example. Keytruda is from Merck. It's an immunotherapy drug and the most profitable drug industry-wide. A Chinese company, Akeso Therapeutics, built a drug that performed better than Keytruda, and it was snapped up by another company, Summit Therapeutics. Here are the prices for Keytruda. Each dose costs either $11,795 or $23,590. That's for one dose, depending on whether the patient goes once every 3 weeks or once every 6 weeks. That treatment continues until things get worse, or things get much worse, or for 2 years is what I think this means. So I hope you have an expensive house you can sell if you're on Keytruda. But this new Chinese drug works better than Keytruda. So now Summit is going to be setting the prices on it, probably even higher than Merck does for the Keytruda. And investment analysts have a strong buy on Summit shares based on what's possible now with this Chinese drug. Annual sales in the double-digit billions, and the company could make a strong takeover target from other companies, like Merck, ironically. So that's the system. Chinese biotech firms move faster with lower costs. Clinical trials can begin in under 18 months compared to several times that in the United States. China has a lot more people doing the research. China has the supply chains, so everything just costs less. Chinese firms pay just a fraction of what US companies do, and they have better access to a lot more patients. Chinese companies are also very strong at Me Too better. That is taking existing drugs that are already on the market, like Keytruda, and building more effective ones. For anything that is being done anywhere, come to China, and there are dozens of versions of it. Chinese labs are also more innovative in tackling the more difficult drugs and therapies. This is all expensive, though, even in China. And so they're motivated to get licensing deals with the big Western names. And our biggest drug makers are motivated to get cheap medicines so that they can get them approved, and new patent protections and price guarantees are secured in our home markets. Venture capital is moving in. 9 figures is 100 million up to $1 billion. And these companies are raising money to buy cheap drugs developed here in China and do the same thing Summit just did. These red lines going straight up is how much our companies are paying upfront to license Chinese-made drugs, basically from zero to over $2.5 billion in a single year, with a lot more coming. This piece was written by David Lee instead of about him. China's biotech sector is bearing fruit as a result of being part of China's Made in 2025 plan from 10 years ago. Now the industry is thriving, and China's science parks are many times bigger than Boston's or Silicon Valley's. There's a massive shift in global biotech underway, and China sets a new standard of research and development.
Yeah. Well, this is just about the cost, okay? I mean, he's got about 4 more of these that I may start playing them on my Master Teacher's Response channel because this stuff is becoming more political and less business wise, because we're getting ready to get into that in a minute about the political side. I appreciate you, MS Delta. That's my spook that sits by the door, okay? Always my wife is about the ability of the Philippines to take this market, but wasting time. This should be a medical tourism market. The Philippines don't have enough money, educated people, or control to do that. That's why it takes China to do it. That's a whole different story. He just did a video on that today. I may or may not do something later on, maybe tomorrow, about that, about the educational shit, man. Because that's white people have made a mess of this country. Okay, they have. So we're gonna stop that one, and we're gonna get into the one into RFK. Okay, real quick, because we got a lot of this stuff. So I don't have a whole lot of time, and it would take me about 4 hours to go over all the clips that I have in full. Okay. The only issue is that the clinical trial industry in China isn't as trusted, but the whole thing really shakes up the U.S. pharma. Okay. All the crap that they put into you, and you guys complaining about a trusted stuff. Okay. They got 1 billion people, and we do experimental stuff all the time on folks. I talked to a couple of medical techs, right? They do experimental shit on you all the time. What are you talking about? What about your COVID drug they signed off on, amongst other things? Anyway, let's get to the next one. The thing is, they got you guys brainwashed, okay? They've been talking about this shit for years. They got y'all brainwashed, okay? Anyhow, let's get busy. Okay, this is RFK. He's actually interviewed by Dr. Phil. Okay, this is on Dr. Phil's podcast. Okay, and about 8 days ago. Oh yeah, but man, Nurse Riley. Okay, that used to be on Art Bell's show, talked about, especially during the Gulf War, all the experimental drugs they pumped into the military guys. About the because I know about 5 people that don't have kidneys because of the depleted uranium dust they were fucking with. Okay, I know 5 people that don't have kidneys behind that shit. Yeah, well, people had to do COVID to keep your job. Well, I knew that was coming. The thing is, there was a COVID vaccine that was safer, and they killed it. Okay. Appreciate you, Jesse. Yeah, Art Bell. If I could find the stuff from Nurse Riley, because I used to record all that crap, man. I have to find my tapes. Nurse Riley used to talk about it. If unethical, if done without, man, DC, come on, man. Where do you live? Where do you live?
That we're burdened by sickness.
If you know how much the United States does without your consent, you'd be shocked, okay?
And what we need to do as a country, we're really, if you look at the data today, the fertility of our kids is down. A teenager today has half the testosterone of a 68-year-old man. We have they have half the sperm counts of an older man. Our girls are hitting puberty 6 years early, earlier than historic levels. They're hitting puberty between 10 and 13 years old.
Why not Resurrection Minds? Okay, if you got rid of unproductive people, Resurrection Minds, who's gonna buy your shit? What does unproductive mean? Okay, you guys have been brainwashed. What's up, Al?
And these are all, and the infertility is now going up in women and men. We have 74% of our kids cannot qualify for military service, so this is a national security issue. And we're spending, I met with the health minister of Indonesia this week, and he said in his country they spend $3,300 a year per patient, and they have a lifespan, an average lifespan of 84 years old. We spend $12,000 a year per patient, per capita, and we have a lifespan of 79. We used to have the same lifespan as they did in Europe, but the Europeans have now moved 6 years ahead of us, and we've stayed stagnant.
So we're spending 4 times as much, and our life expectancy is going down. Something's wrong. I mean, clearly something's wrong. And the chronic disease among children has gone up. We're spending our insurance dollars, our healthcare cost in hospitals is basically managing chronic disease at this point.
Well,
it's not for acute care.
About 95% of healthcare costs are for chronic disease. When my uncle was president, 3% of Americans had chronic disease. Today, it's 60%. So when my uncle was president, and I was a 10-year-old boy, we spent 0 on chronic disease in this country. The first pill
And that tells you what happened, right? What happened?
that people were supposed to take kind of on a regular basis was the pill. But we didn't even have treatments back then. But now it's 95% of what we're spending on healthcare is going to treat chronic disease. So it's destroying our economy. Healthcare costs rise every year by 2% greater than the economy is growing. So this is existential.
Basically, really the progressives, what we call the progressives, and the funny thing is the progressive and the far right actually agree upon this. This is one thing they agree upon. What he's saying is not a left issue, okay? It's not a left or right issue. Because if you go to the far right, they're even more radical than RFK is. He's a lefty, okay? The right wing, believe it or not, because I used to go to the national health conventions. They're all, man, they are so far right they damn near have hoods. That's how far right they are. So this is not a left or right issue, believe it or not. Okay, people think it's a left issue. It's not.
We cannot keep this up. I talked to the biggest furniture manufacturer in Wisconsin the other day, and we were talking about the tariffs and whether those were going to help him bring manufacturing home. And he said, I don't care how high they raise the tariffs. I cannot manufacture in this country because of the healthcare costs. The healthcare costs that I spend on a single worker, I can pay the entire salary of a Vietnamese worker. Yeah. So I can't move it back here. So it's crippling our business, it's crippling our country, and we've got to figure out a way to reverse this trend.
Yeah, and let's talk about this. You talk about the chronic disease in children, and one of the things you've come up with is a list of the root causes. And I've made a graphic of it up here, so I've given you a big.
And after this, we'll play a few more minutes of this, because I just want you to get a gist of it, okay? You can actually, this is like an hour and a half long. I don't have time. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I wanted you to get the full gist of the whole picture about why this is important, okay? Why I like him being where he is, because he's not saying, what I'm like is he's not saying anything new, okay? I've known this stuff for 40 years, okay? At least 40 years, okay? At least 40 years I've known this stuff. And intensely for the last 30 years, okay? I've gone to the health conferences, right? I'm a pro-black, right? Conscious community, right? I have so many naturopathic gurus in the conscious community that you can't even shake a stick at, man. I've been to the sovereign citizen forums, which are far right leaning people, okay? It's the same stuff. So I've known this stuff for like 30, 35 years. So what he's saying is not new. It's not radical. It's not radical at all.
Prompter you can use up here. The potential root causes of childhood chronic disease epidemic. And these are the things that you're putting on the list of things to work on, right? You're talking about diet, absorption of toxic materials, medical treatments, lifestyle, environmental factors, government policies, food production techniques, electromagnetic radiation, and corporate influence.
No, porn is not. Actually, porn actually will raise your sperm count, not lower it. Okay, your sperm count is actually raised by porn, not lowered. Okay, the thing is what the products that they're putting in the food, lowering the testosterone. Porn will actually raise your sperm count. I said pedestrians don't like data and numbers. No, they do not. Okay. RFK Jr. has been talking that shit for a while. His delivery it's not that great. It doesn't matter, KG. Is he right? Is he right? It doesn't matter. Microplastics, soy, artificial sweeteners, a whole bunch, there's a whole list of stuff, okay? Doesn't matter. The thing is, even his position now, he's been on this message for a long time. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is not new. Global business don't care about your country. You called it per his last comment. Yeah. Porn is extremely destructive. Porn has been around for a long time. What has it destroyed? Okay. We must see why is porn destructive? Okay. Only way porn is destructive is it keeps them from attaching to females to make families. Okay. That's all it does. That's all it does. It does. Porn is not destructive. People have not gotten. Porn has been around for 300 years. Porn is not destructive. Just like the whorehouses are not destructive. Okay. Oh, Lalia, man, there's so many. Lalia Africa, Dr. Sabi. There's a bunch of them that talked about this stuff. Okay. I mean, too many to name. Queen Afua. I don't have any thoughts in Israel. I don't even have thoughts in Islam. That's your generation, okay? I've been on fire this year. Diet thing is insane. Kids' breakfast is chips, blue popsicle, soda, ham sandwich, and no vitamins whatsoever. It's not including what's in the ham. My American friend who lives in Tokyo returned to the U.S. 2 weeks. He ate the food and needed hospitalization upon his return to Japan. Guys, the food is bad. They've been saying that for years. There's stuff that we make in the United States. It cannot be sold anyplace else. Okay? Cannot be sold anyplace else.
And cronyism. Talk about some of these things that this is where this is all coming from. This is a hit list of things that need to be addressed. And this is on your to-do list.
Yeah, on February 14th, President Trump signed an executive order that is called the MAHA order to create a commission, a MAHA commission, and these are the metrics that we are now studying. So we have 100 days to put out a report, and then another 60 days after that to put out a list of deliverables about what we're going to do to end it. And I would say the top concern is the diet. We have 10,000 ingredients in our food, and in Europe they only have 400. Most of the stuff we put
exactly. If you go outside the country, especially to a developing country, right, where they can't afford to put this shit in the food, right, you can instantly taste the difference in the food, instantly. Okay, when I was in Ghana, okay, the bread people had never really eaten real bread. Okay. They loved it so much that people were actually taking loaves of bread, putting it in their suitcases. The only difference is that they didn't put all that bullshit into your bread. Okay, your bread is only supposed to last 3 or 4 days. Okay, not 6 weeks.
Putting our food is banned in Europe. Oh, that is a crazy. That's a crazy ratio. And if you, for example, food dyes, which we've announced now, we're going to get rid of all the food dyes within 2 years. Let me put it this way: the petroleum-based synthetic dyes. We can use vegetable dyes. That's what they use in Canada. That's what they use in Europe. If you buy Fruit Loops in this country, it is a completely different product than what you would buy across the border in Canada. The Canadian version of Fruit Loops, which is made by the same company, Kellogg's, has only vegetable dyes and a limited number of ingredients. In our country, it's all chemical dyes. And the food processors say, if we ask them, why are you poisoning American kids and you're not poisoning Canadian kids? And the answer, of course, is Canada won't let them. But why are they using those ingredients in our country? Because they're cheaper and because the colors are more vibrant. And they found that if the colors are more vibrant, kids want more of them. And that's the problem.
It's about money. I told you it's about money.
Problem is that I was involved kind of peripherally in the tobacco litigation back in the late 1980s. And the tobacco companies were, at that time, the wealthiest countries, the most cash-rich companies on earth. And they saw the writing on the wall. They saw that they were going to face litigation and regulatory headwinds. They saw that their customer base was shrinking. And they began to diversify. So they targeted the food companies. And by 1994, The two biggest food companies in the world were R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris.
See, this is something that goes way back. Like I said, this is like a 40-year-old problem, right? More than that. It really goes back to the 70s when we start reading about it. Okay, it's not new.
Tobacco companies. They took thousands of scientists that were involved in making tobacco more addictive and more attractive, particularly to kids. And they transferred those science to their food division. And those scientists went into the lab and began creating ingredients and identifying ingredients that make food addictive. So putting in loads of sugar, which is addictive, and sodium, and then developing these ingredients that mimic natural flavors. So they'll mimic a strawberry flavor, for example, and you're hungry for strawberries, and you can smell and taste this ingredient, but it has no nutrients in it. When you eat a strawberry, oh, sorry, I duck. Sorry about that. When you eat a strawberry,
I'm not taking that out, by the way. It's staying in. The quack and duck is staying in. Despite some post-election
All right. Okay. Now, okay, we played a little bit of that. You guys can actually go to Dr. Phil's. The basically the video is like an hour and a half long, okay? And I may do this in long form on another channel, but I just want to give you the gist, okay? Because the coup de grace of what we're talking about is getting ready to come, okay? RFK. The reason why I like RFK and being Health and Human Services, okay, Secretary, and regardless of how, because I don't, I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I really am not, okay? I don't particularly like the guy. I never did particularly like the guy. But the thing is, by God, he's actually shaking shit up, right? This is one of the ways, because no other president would do that. Even our beloved Saint Barack Obama would not do this stuff. He tried, okay? He tried, okay, but he's black, and there's no way he could do it. No way a black man could push this kind of agenda forward, right? Hillary Clinton, who's white, couldn't push it forward, okay? Now you got a man who's got nothing to lose and doesn't care, so he's willing to let loose. So at the very least, we'll put these ideas on the table. And then it's up to you guys. If you guys really want this kind of crap in your food and stuff like that, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But this is the coup de grace. This is actually what I want to talk about, okay? And this is... What about spicy chili Doritos can't be bad? Okay, all right, Rumulti. Let's chill out, okay? I know you got jokes. Get the likes up, or all my students will get double the homework, okay? Hey, my nephew, give him double the homework. He needs it, okay? He need a job, okay? He need a good job. Take care of them babies. Michelle tried to do it. The thing is, they only half-assed tried to do. It takes a president who's willing to put his neck on the line, okay? And Donald Trump, I told you you had the Donald Trump before that gunshot and the Donald Trump after that gunshot are two different people, okay? That's why I played this one every day, right? Okay. That's why I played this one. That's why I put this one in, right?
Oh yeah. Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding.
We're on a mission from God.
Donald Trump is on a mission from God, a God of his understanding, okay? But this one is something that should concern everybody, okay? Because this is the critical part, okay? This is where the money comes in. This is where the money comes in, and this is where your budget comes in. Remember when I first played it? 20% of your GDP goes to health care, okay? You could reduce, and this is something that Schweikert has been saying for 2 or 3 years. If you can make people healthy, okay, you can eliminate your budget crisis. You could eliminate your budget crisis, okay? Most of the money that you spend on Medicare and Social Security, okay, is because of health. Okay, you're draining pockets and draining wealth from old folks that could be passed down to young folks through what? By trying to keep them artificially alive, right? By trying to make profits. They're sucking the profits out of these people. Okay, young people should be the people that should be most involved in this are not the old folks, it's the young folks. Why? Because that's where the money's being drained. Your health care costs, your your taxes, your social security, all that stuff has been drained through what? Keeping old folks healthy, okay? By feeding them garbage. We now have Trump's evil twin, like Tupac after he signed with Death Row. Tupac after he got that rape conviction, okay, that rape allegation. Okay, different Tupac. Okay, before women were nice, but after that, bitches wasn't shit after that. Okay. Anyway, let's get busy. It's not about a good diet and cardio. It's on a more fundamental basis than that. Okay. Unless you grow your own food. Let me know if you can. Let me know if you guys can see this before I get started. Even though it's mostly talk. Big Mo, this is not what we're talking about, okay? This is not a personal thing, okay? Y'all get, okay. You guys get into personal shit instead of structural shit, okay? Y'all have to stop being, that's not even just stray cats, okay? Like squirrels. You're running all over the place. Concentrate. Focus.
That's the morality of this place. For the lobbyists, for the groups that are walking our halls saying, we want more spending. Don't do this horrible, devastating 2% cut in spending over the next 10 years. Thank you for screwing over my 2-year-old. Your absolute immorality. If you're going to walk into our office and
now, Tupac changed when he got accused of rape, okay, and damn near had to go to prison behind that shit. He's gonna get 20 years behind that shit, and it took Death Row to pull him out of that. That's a different Tupac.
demand more spending. Tell us what you think, where we can modernize, where we can change the cost of government. We've come here and done presentations that the single biggest expense we have in government turns out it's obesity. We did a whole model for the last couple of years, huge amounts. Remember, I chair the Joint Economic Committee, so I have like 5 PhD economists. We did the data, 9.1 trillion additional healthcare costs. Turns out the morality, if you'd help our brothers and sisters be healthier, but you got to do through the Farm Bill, you got to do through nutrition support.
9 trillion in additional healthcare costs. Okay, 9.1 trillion. You hear me?
You're going to have to decide: are we going to have access to glutites and other things? But are we going to use technology, the wearables, the other things? I have one of those data rings on. What would happen if one of the most powerful things you can do for U.S. sovereign debt stabilization is a healthier society? And somehow that becomes a fringe conversation around here because people make money off of our brothers and sisters being sick.
Exactly. They make money. That's why I showed you the data from Inside China Business, right? Okay? The money that they use to give you drugs, okay, they get it from China for 10 cents, less than 10 cents on the dollar, and jack up the price, okay? China, the drug costs $35 a dose. In China, it costs you $3,500 or $35,000 when you get here. Why? Why? Because that's how they make money.
It's absolutely perverse. If you actually go, I think it was a year or so ago, I think it was Goldman Sachs did this huge report on GLP-1s, glutites, and somewhere in one of the footnotes was sent.
If you squirrels in the back don't stop, I'm going to start blocking people, okay? If you're not here to be serious, especially on a day like today, you need to go someplace else, okay? You know what I'm talking about. If you're not here to be serious, go someplace else, okay? Because I'm looking at your comments, okay? Nobody talks about that angle of Tupac because y'all too young, okay? You guys are too young.
To me, it had this line, a couple lines, saying if there was wide adoption and the United States actually became much healthier, much less morbid obesity, that there would be healthcare systems that would go bankrupt because they wouldn't have enough multi-chronic sick people to pay their bonds.
In other words, you have companies that would go bankrupt if you didn't have enough sick people. Sick people are an industry, right? Okay, I know that because I've had 2 or 3 people die. Okay, and okay, I had about 4 or 5 people die of cancer, right? And they knew 5 years before they told these people they were going to die of cancer that they had it. Told them. I mean, before they told them. They detected the cancer like 5 years before. But it's not profitable to make them better or make them healthy.
Think about that. Everything's about the money here, not about the morality of having a society that's growing and prospering. Prosperity, I would argue, Mr. Speaker, is moral. How much of the crap we do here is not just satiating today's, Twitter sphere screaming at us, or something that's completely made up.
Man, you know what? Kaiser, which I don't know if Kaiser, how far Kaiser is across the country, right? Kaiser here in the West, especially in California where it started, in Los Angeles where it started. Man, Kaiser does not like me. Okay, Kaiser does not like to see me walk in with somebody, with somebody is their companion, right? Is because I get on their ass, okay? Because I'm a STEM guy, right? Basically, I was supposed to be a chemist, so a lot of shit that they do, I can actually read, and a lot of shit they do, I know the scientific method, and I know the bullshit that they tell you, and they get on me. I get on their fucking nerves because I also know the business side of it. I can make this shit cost you more than you want it to cost you. And they hate to see me coming, but guess what? I get what I want. And they make you use your doctor. The thing is, and this is a secret, right? Okay. If you really want Kaiser to do something, right? Okay. You make them feel like it's going to cost them way more to make you healthy than it is to keep you sick. Okay, most people, especially black people, come in and do what the doctor says, right? I don't. Okay, I actually go back and read, and they don't like a population to read, especially a black population that reads. 90% of the time, if you read, you can figure it out. Okay. I need you to walk me to fight the top Negro surgeons in the U.S. Okay. Trust and believe, man. They don't want to hear from me. The thing is, because basically the shit is about money.
But actually building a plan saying, here's the prosperity we're going to build for the future. Sorry. I probably have already had too much coffee today. And this is just to make a point, and this is more to mock the Senate. And I was talking to one of the senators last night who also is concerned like I am. Maybe they hear our voices. So, Tax Cut and Jobs Act, and these are just the base numbers when they were first scored. This number actually came in half that. No interest is attached to it, but we stole this from someone else, but it was to make a point. Democrats complained about that. CARES Act, we complained about the excessive spending. The American Rescue Plan, we complained about. Then you add in the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. It wasn't that bipartisan. I think they had just a handful of Republicans who wanted projects in their district. But you add it all up, all the things we have fretted over the last decade, and they don't even add up to the amount of borrowing that's in the Senate reconciliation budget. Because it's so much easier here just to spend and just borrow it. There's this attitude here, give it to me now. Oh, you guys will figure out something in the future.
It was a buy now, pay later. That's what we're working on, right?
And for anyone out there who's, look, I've actually, we've worked with some of the Doge folks because I have the economists, but go on their official website right now. They think next year, 2026 fiscal year, we can save $160 billion. That's real money. But it's only, if we borrow $6 billion a day, 24, 23 days of borrowing. That's everything we've gotten. There's this inability for members of Congress, our staff, the public, to understand the scale of what we're up against. This basically just reiterates what I'm going to show a couple times here just because I need it to sink in. We do the Senate reconciliation budget with our baseline. We double U.S. debt in 10 years. Going to say it a couple times so it sinks in. Debt held by the public, and they're using 2034. We prefer to use 2035 because that's more of an honest budget window. But you start to look at what the Senate resolution, this was baseline debt. They add another 32.7% to the debt. And if we do what the Senate put out in their budget reconciliation, we functionally double publicly held debt in the United States. What took us 240 years to do, bless us, we can do in 10, because we're good at borrowing money, handing things out, telling people there's no consequences, making crap up, saying it's healthcare for illegals. Okay, shouldn't do that. But it's only a couple days of borrowing over a year. You got to do lots and lots and lots of difficult things. And we've done entire presentations where we've shown you could revolutionize the cost of healthcare. We've actually looked at one data set, and we've been studying this now for months. If I came to you, Mr. Speaker, and said, just in Medicare, duplicative MRI scans, PET scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, could be as much as $25 billion a year. Duplicative scans. What if you got your knee scanned and you just attach it to this thing so it's portable with you? That's $250 billion over 10 years.
Yep, just little things, right? Little things called tech, which the Chinese are already doing, right? Little things.
Is that a cut? No. It's just a simple use of almost a free technology that's out there where you can load them on this and it's portable with you. We get lobbyists who don't like that idea because apparently they make money on the duplications.
Oh. Say it again, white boy. Say it again. I should say it again, Grandpa. Say it again.
The inefficiencies, the fraud.
I should call him old Negro in the house, okay?
Those things are a business model now. When government controls functionally a quarter of all the spending in the United States, of all the GDP, and a big chunk of that is functionally waste and fraud and misallocations, bad design, give it whatever anachronism you want or title you want. Many of the lobbyists that are walking these hallways are here to stop us from modernizing the system and bringing it into this century and just using the technology. You walk around with a supercomputer in your pocket. This could crash the price of healthcare, make you healthier, give you access, all these things. And there's an army of people trying to stop us. Remember, telehealth here was an absolute war. There were millions being spent to stop it. Because
and millions here to stop it, right? Okay, because you're messing with the money. That's why people don't know. People think RFK Jr. is crazy, right? He might be. I don't give a shit. Donald Trump is crazy. He might be. Okay. Musk might be nuts. He might be. But the thing is, something has to change. Okay. I told you guys before, even before the election, a Joker is going to be in the White House. Okay. The Joker is Mayor of Gotham right now. And there's going to be some good things and some bad things, even with the tariffs, right? Okay. Even when I tell you what the deal is and what the scheme is and what the plan is, nobody believes the shit until something happens. I said, I don't know why you guys listen to me. Because all I get is BGS butt, BGS butt, BGS butt, BGS butt. Okay? And then 6 months later, you guys forget that I told you that shit. That's why I'm starting to get fucking irritated, okay? You know, y'all come back, Motherfucker, I told you that shit 6 months ago. Were you listening to me? Like with the shit's going on in Central Africa. Motherfucker, I told you that shit almost 3 years ago. Now, some people I told that shit to you 20 years ago. And you come running to me like this something new. Oh, BGS, blah, blah, blah. Get the fuck out of here with that stuff, man. Catch up. That's what's irritating me. Trump already did the pencil joke with tariff. The thing is that I told you what was going on. That's why I told you, stop listening to Trump. Listen, if you really want to know what's going on with tariffs and the trade policies, don't listen to Trump. Listen to Bessent, because it's Bessent's plan, okay? It's not Trump's plan. Trump doesn't understand that. It's because it's not his plan. It's Bessent and his team. That's their plan. Trump all he does is say, okay, you know, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. What do you think about it? And Trump will give his parameters of what he wants, okay? And then Bessent will go out and adjust the plan to that. Trump doesn't run that. Bessent runs that. That's why I told you, that's why I've been telling you the only way to bring the budget down is to modernize healthcare. I've been telling you that Healthcare is going to get modernized, and people that are in healthcare, okay, some of y'all going to lose your jobs because you have to. Okay, they're going to have to streamline this shit because it costs too much. And basically, the only place they can bring costs down, especially in the United States budget, is this way. It's this way, and it's most of the stuff they've been fighting. Okay, one is to keep profit, and two to keep people in their jobs. At some point, especially with this president and that health secretary that's in office, the shit's gonna happen. Okay, whether it happens or not, basically, all the facts are gonna get put on the table, because Trump is not gonna hold RFK Jr. back. He's gonna let him go. He's going to say a whole lot of ugly stuff that people don't like, even though it's true. And will he get everything 100% right? No, nobody does. Even if he gets half the shit right, that's way more than what's been done.
It screwed up people's business models.
Yep.
And I'm going to do this a couple more times, and then we're going to do one more example.
Let's back that up just a second, because what he said was apropos, okay?
United States, of all the GDP, and a big chunk of that is functionally waste and fraud and misallocations, bad design, give it whatever anachronism you want or title you want. Many of the lobbyists that are walking these hallways are here to stop us from modernizing the system and bringing it into this century and just using the technology. You walk around with a supercomputer in your pocket. This could crash the price of healthcare, make you healthier, give you access, all these things. And there's an army of people trying to stop us. Remember, telehealth here was an absolute war. There were millions being spent to stop it.
Appreciate you, Christopher Ross, for the Cash App.
Because it screwed up people's business models. And I'm going to do this a couple more times, and then we're going to do one more example. If we do what's being planned right now, you finish the next decade, well, 10 years from now, either $73.7 trillion of debt, or our other chart actually gets it up to $74 trillion of debt. So when you hear a member on the Democrat side, Republican side, running for office, I care about the debt, but I'm more afraid of telling you the truth of what drives the debt. And the fact of the matter is the people walking the hallways here, often our own constituents, are screaming at us for more spending. Don't they have kids? Don't they even care about their own retirements? The absolute vacuousness of immorality. So I grabbed this from the Wall Street Journal. So I can't imagine anyone here has had protesters and people showing up in their office about Medicaid, which is supposed to be our safety net for indigents and the poor. I have some old experience with that. For a short time, I actually chaired the healthcare committee in the Arizona State Legislature when I was a child. For a while, I actually worked on the access budgets, which is the Arizona Medicaid system. We do something unique. We functionally buy managed care HMO policies for our poor people. It's actually shockingly efficient. Matter of fact, if you took the rest of the country and adopted the Arizona model, you could save hundreds of billions of dollars over those 10 years. But the Wall Street Journal did us a favor. They actually took the Arizona system, which actually has a shockingly high satisfaction rate, good outcomes. We can make it much better. But the punchline here is they're showing something called a provider tax. This was a scheme, and I have to openly admit, on part of it, which was the disproportionate share, this is geeky stuff, I was actually part of managing that many years ago. You know, I was county treasurer, I managed money, and we were part of the swap. But part of the scam out there is raise the cost of healthcare, create a tax, capture that tax, and because you raise the price, you also capture more money from the federal government in their percentage match. What the Wall Street Journal did was brilliant. They just produced this chart that says, do you know the Arizona government, and this is most state governments, actually use the provider tax washing machine. They make money. They actually take in more money. They're not meeting their obligation of, it was supposed to be a partnership. It was supposed to be a match. Is this a cut? It's just saying, look, there was a deal made in the late 60s that we were going to share some of the risk and some of the costs with our poor on providing health care. Then when Obama came in, they did this expansion and 10%, even though it was going to people who were still work eligible, those things. But then states, and this we all knew this was going on, but it was supposed to be temporary. It was supposed to be when coming out of a major recession, we were going to go back to normality. And instead, it's padding for state budgets. That cash isn't going into healthcare. It's financing other things and raising the U.S. debt because this is borrowed money.
Would the gentleman yield?
Absolutely.
I'm going to be happy to share time that I have after the gentleman from Arizona. I want
Perhaps that's what it is. I'm getting old. I'm starting to like Republicans, and that's that's. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. 'Cause I didn't used to like them.
I want to thank the gentleman from Arizona for his steadfast devotion to highlighting for the American people the state of our fiscal health, which is not good, and the extent to which we're complicit in it. And I want to just point out that this thing that the gentleman from Arizona is talking about is so central to everything we're trying to deal with right here, right now in Congress. And if we don't fix that, then we will have failed. I want to be clear to my Republican colleagues. If we do not fix this scheme, this scam, the gentleman didn't misspeak. It is a scam. If we don't fix that, we will have failed. Let me just ask the gentleman a couple of questions.
Shoot.
Prior to the existence of Medicaid, right, there was no federal subsidy at all. This scheme couldn't have possibly existed in this way.
Yeah, most of this was designed late 60s.
Right.
My state I have this weird history. I was a child, I was early 20s. I was a temporary page at the state legislature. Arizona was the last state to enter Medicaid.
Right.
It was bankrupting our counties because up to that point in the early 80s, the counties were actually the provider of health care.
Right.
So we entered this, but we created a really crazy system saying we're going to do managed care to drive the price down. But yes,
so Medicaid was created, and Medicaid was created to ostensibly provide an avenue for health care for the poor and vulnerable, right? It's a broad statement. Is that true?
The actual language was for indigents. It was mostly for women and children.
And it was supposed to then be a shared arrangement between the state and the federal government, correct?
And in the early days, it was like a 50-50, not 100%
and so now
from the federal government.
Fast forward, and the current vulnerable population, okay, what we call the vulnerable population, the indigent, the poor, those who need it, single moms, people who are sick, the frail, that population, even under today's law, gets a federal, we'll call it match, it's really a formula, a match of 50 to 70%, depending on the jurisdiction.
Yeah,
is that correct?
It blends out closer to the 70. And now talk about the expansion population.
And so then now let's fast forward. What we're really talking about, for everybody at home watching C-SPAN, all 14 of you, we have a situation where Obamacare expanded the Medicaid population, and it expanded it massively.
I remember that. I remember he sure did, because I have some relatives who actually got on Medicaid, and they were still they weren't working, and they didn't have health care, and so they applied for Medicaid, and they got it. Okay, even though they could have got retrained and got into other systems. Okay, so Medicaid and Social Security actually expanded to right after the mortgage crash.
A population that is much bigger and much more able-bodied, i.e. healthier.
Yes.
So now you would think, well, I don't know, is that good or bad? I have my problems with it facially, but even if you were going to do it, would you then say, as it does, that population, the healthier, able-bodied population, should get 90% match from the federal government? Because that's what's happening. They get a 90% rate for that expanded population. Then layer on top of that, and this is, I'll yield back, this is what you're now dealing with. The gentleman's chart that the Wall Street Journal did, where you have the provider taxes, you have this high rate that they are able to collect, and they're juicing it using the provider taxes.
In other words, you have socialized medicine and capitalized medicine at the same time, and those two things do not mix. Okay, you got socialized medicine and with capitalist carpetbaggers taking advantage of the system, and that's why you're in debt.
They get this 90% federal dollars, and then they're openly, California, for example, has stated They are gaming the system to get federal dollars to use that to subsidize illegal aliens and to people who are not the vulnerable population, and frankly, to put it in their general budget. That's what the gentleman's talking about. That's the current state of affairs. I yield back to the gentleman.
No, and Mr. Roy, it goes further. So as we all get the paid for, have you had the occasion yet, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Roy, where a group comes into your office, somehow they were put on a plane, put in a hotel, those things here, they have no understanding of the mechanics, but somehow there were Medicaid providers in your state that had plenty of cash laying around to fly people out to come lobby.
Right.
And then, so we did this. We pulled open, here's another Wall Street Journal article from a week or two ago, talking about how many in the Medicaid systems here in the United States are enrolled in multiple states. So you actually have billions and billions and billions of dollars here. They're enrolled in multiple states. And even the discussion of, could we just match data? And you actually get objections to this because the fraud is part of the profit model.
Oh.
So for...
Say it again, white boy. The fraud, medical fraud is part of the profit model, okay? That's why I was playing, that's why I wanted to play this, okay? Because I know people don't like RFK Jr. for whatever reason, right, okay? They've been brainwashed not to like the guy. They've been brainwashed to think that he's nuts and he's a kook, okay? That's why I played his short first, and I played Inside China Business that talks about money as a business model second, and I played his interview with Dr. Phil third, and now this. This is where the money meets the road, okay? People think it's about health care, okay? We're not even talking about health care, okay? We're talking about money and health care cost and how it affects your budget, how it affects your deficit, how it affects your bonds, how it affects your taxes that you pay. That's what we're talking about. And how your food industry, your medical industry, and your chemical industry makes money off of this bullshit, and we allow it. That's why I actually applaud RFK Jr., okay? If nothing else, at least shake the shit up. At least bring it to the table and have a discussion. That's what Trump is doing as far as tariffs, right? He's not trying to make permanent tariffs. What he's trying to do is shake the table so people come back to it. That's all we're trying to do. No, he's not screaming in the wind, okay? That's why I played RFK Jr. Guess who listens to Schweikert? Guess who listens to Schweikert? Okay? Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and RFK Jr. He's not screaming in the wind. That's why I'm playing it. Because I tell you what, if that was the case, nobody listened, he was screaming in the wind. When we actually brought him forward and talked about the connection between migrants that Biden was bringing in semi-illegally and taxpayers, all of a sudden all the bills, all the alarms went off. People started admitting it, okay? That's why I play Schweikert. That's why I put this stuff together. So even only a few people are going to see it. You know, it won't be millions of people that will see it. But the thing is, the people that are in positions to know and actually want to solve these problems, are the people that listen to this stuff and the people that ask questions. And that's how the ball gets started. Y'all been here long enough, man. Okay, y'all been here long enough with me to know how shit can change. Okay, even one little person, one little Negro, old Negro, sitting in his office with a computer in front of him, computer monitors in front of him, can help change the world. I ain't saying change it, but help change the world, right? Okay, with his little 2 shekels. Okay, everybody got 2 shekels. Okay, where do you put your 2 shekels? Where do you put your 2 shekels, okay? You want to change the world? Well, okay, but the thing is, you waste your 2 shekels on bullshit, okay? Instead of putting your 2 shekels towards something that's actually going to make change. I could make more money. I could make more money doing something else, okay? I know enough. I've acquired enough knowledge. I can make more money doing something else. I'm here with you because I value change and impact over money. I could make more money doing astrology charts. I could charge $30 per astrology chart, okay? I can do 10 a day, at least. Make $300 a day just by doing that. Teaching classes. Just by doing that. I'm here with you, okay? Is because, and this kind of stuff gets the least of people's attention, okay? People don't want to hear this dry shit. This is dry stuff, okay? But it's important because you want to know how to solve the budget, okay? You want to know how to bring the stuff down. You wonder why Donald Trump and Doge and RFK Jr. are doing shit. I'm trying to explain to you why they're doing shit, okay? So that you know. I just had a brother. One of my passport bros. He's in his late 20s in Amsterdam, right? And in a random bar, a guy that worked for the UN struck up a conversation with him. He said, and all of a sudden they had this long 2-hour conversation. Why? Because he's wondering how this kid knows shit that most people don't know. Because he's been following me for so long. I'm telling this is a less than 1% conversation that we're having right now. Okay. Less than 1% of people actually even will put this shit together. I'm putting this shit together for you for a reason, so that you'll know. I don't care whether you agree with me or not. You can disagree till the cows come home. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, because every time, just like in the casino or in the laundromat, right? All this shit is gonna come out in the wash. Somebody's gonna be right. Somebody's gonna be wrong. Okay. Somebody's gonna be right, somebody's gonna be wrong. I don't need you guys to validate me for shit, okay? I don't. The headlines, only the headlines in the newspaper will actually validate what I'm saying. That's the only validation I look for. Did what I say or what I predicted come out in that newsprint? At the very least, you have a heads up to be able to use this info as a shield. Yeah. What I'm saying is, if you're way ahead of the game, if you understand this, right? Okay. What is it? Smart people know the game is up, the game is over before the game is over, right? Okay. Regular people know the game is over when the game is over. Okay. Dumb people, which is most people, don't still think the game is going on after the game has already ended. Okay, don't be in the last category. At the very least, be in the second category. Know when the game is up. I said Hartford Hospital is with names also on and off other medical and fire campuses, along with judges and doctors faking transcripts with their families needing to hide uses of locations, etc. There's a lot of crap that's going on, man. Basically, you know, just like housing, just like medical costs, all that kind of stuff. Y'all have to get out there, okay? Y'all have to. I mean, you got a wealth of knowledge, right? You got freaking AI. You can actually summarize shit within seconds, okay? You have no excuse not to know. You got fucking AI on your goddamn phones. You have no excuse not to know. You don't have to do an hour of research. You can do 10 minutes of research and get the basics. AI is not perfect. In fact, there's a lot of mistakes in AI. A lot of slanted opinions in AI. That's why I don't like it. Okay, AI has a bias. That's why I don't use it very much. But things you could at least be informed. Okay, if the doctor prescribes you something, you could type in the name into AI and it'll pull up and put contraindications. All the side effects of that drug will show up in the AI. Okay, and you can ask the doctor in real time right when he's looking at you. What are the side effects? How is this going to affect me or the person that I'm with? Okay, are there alternative treatments? You got it in your pocket. Y'all don't use this shit. Oh well, the doctor told me I got to take this pill. What's the pill for? Well, I don't know. He just told me to take it. And that's most people. That's most people. Anyhow. And the thing is, that's just health. I'm not even talking. What we're talking about is just money. This is about money and budget. BG, I think you should abandon the pedestrians if you were running a class for $50 a month, where you taught all the subjects. I joined. I'm pretty sure at least 100 others. Yeah, I know. I know they would. And they've told me they would. Okay. Medicine crimes, while they're tactically. The thing is, there's so much. He just told you there's so much. This is a congressman on the fucking floor of Congress telling you that there's medical fraud and people are actually holding back legislation is because people are making fucking money. That's why I put it together. But in other ways, man, that's my time, man. I'm like 22 minutes overtime. It's something more serious. I know I'm not going to get, like I said, I only got 380 people watching. I was talking about bitches and something else like that. I'd have 800 people, but I know that. That's why I don't do it very much on this channel. That's why I'm probably going to start doing more of this on my alternative channel. But this, now normally I would do this kind of stuff in my Patreon, where it's behind the wall, and people, and the people that actually pay the little $3 actually really want to know this stuff. That's why I some people have Patreons that's free. Okay, I put a small percentage on it, a small cost on it, is because I only want people that actually really wanted to know. If you really just wandering in just to fuck with me, I don't want no trolls. Okay, trolls, they're not gonna pay to come troll me. Okay, even if it's $1. It's $1. They're not gonna pay to come troll me. So that's how come I put a limit on it, right? And real serious stuff, I'm gonna start putting tiers on it. Okay, so the real serious stuff, I'm gonna keep all the people that are not serious out. It's more of a protective thing to keep people out. It's not really a barrier, because fuck, $5-10 is not a whole lot of money. Okay, people. I mean, I used to say it's less than a Starbucks coffee, but hell, now it's less than the price of pussy. Anyhow, let me get out of here. Our founders communicated for us to blame the crazy laws, forced and Trenton breaching methods. Had no idea what you're talking about, man. Capitalism does not suck. Capitalism has to be balanced with something else, okay? If capitalism sucks, how come Chinese are kicking our ass with 996, okay? What do you think 996 is? 996 is not socialism, okay? Not exclusion, but a filter, yeah. Anyhow, let me get out of here. Let me get out of here. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Then you can ask me all your random ass questions. I get random ass questions throughout the week that don't belong here, but on my AMAs, nobody shows up to ask me their random ass questions. It perplexes me. Okay, you want me to ask you some off the wall question? I actually have a whole show for random ass questions, and people don't show up. I'm confused. Maybe black people are actually backwards. Okay, they really are. I asked ChatGPT how much money could be saved if Congress listened to Schweiker and said potentially could save 195 billion annually, totaling 1.95 trillion over 10 years. Yeah, and that's just the highlighted portion. He told you that's just a small portion. Okay, the real money is in tech. The real money is getting the profit model out of medicine, which is why you had that big fight with Hillary Clinton and then Barack Obama. Barack Obama's Obamacare, as we call it, was a mediation between the corporate folks and the socialist folks. Okay, they met in the middle. Okay, they met in the middle. Okay, we'll allow you to make your profits, but the thing is, we're gonna have you got to give us a little bit more. So that's what they did. They met in the middle. But the thing is, they didn't go all the way. So you have a mixture. You have the worst of socialized medicine and the worst of corporate medicine all mixed together. That's how you're in debt. Shit doesn't work. We're not even going to get into the World Trade Center attacks. Okay, that was I saw that shit happen live. Okay, I know exactly what it was. Okay, and if you go back and investigate Building 7, you'll know exactly what the WTC was. Okay. Anyhow, let me get out of here, man, because you guys are going off the rails right now.
What can I say? Mamba out.
7